Hello, how you doing? A bit confused by what's going on in the world? Aren't we all? Seems to me there's nobody left that we can trust. Who do you trust? The government? After all the sex scandals and paedophile rings? What's happening in America? No. Well, maybe we can trust our religions. Do they have a set of rules we can use so that we all live peacefully with our fellow man? So when I look at 9/11, Northern Ireland, what's happening in the Middle East, probably not. How about journalists, the people who bring us the information and tell the truth? Well, sadly, the standard of modern journalism isn't what it should be, and people like Anna Breeze are trying to bring that to everybody's attention. She's trying to repair it. What about science? Can we trust science? Is it something we can absolutely trust? Well, if science had a model of reality which reflected reality, it would be something we could trust. But when you go to university, the first thing you do is to separate out into different departments. Astronomy, physics, chemistry, biology, virology, genetics. That's all the study of the same material, nature. But where's the link between all the departments? There isn't one. So how can we trust science? Why should we trust science? What is science? Well, the bedrock of science is repeatable experiment. I claim something. Here's my experiment to prove it. And whoever you are, you can go away and get the same result. If it doesn't work, we throw it out. Remember cold fusion? Everybody tried the same experiment, didn't work, it's gone. So there must be a reason that universities don't have an answer for nature. And there is. Nature is self-organizing into very, very complex systems. The solar system is a very, very accurate clock, which self-assembled from nothing more than dust. And there's nothing in physics which explains that. The physics of the solar system is gravity. That just makes things stick together and move. What about the clock? Where did that come from? There's something missing. There's something I need to add to physics to explain the clock. What about biology? It's so complex. Imagine a jet engine, self-assembling, because you need a bit more power. Well, that puts it in perspective, and scientists are beginning to say so. Here's a book by Stuart Kaufman, A World Beyond Physics. There's nothing wrong with any of the physics we've got, but it's not enough. And what he states in here is true. The physics doesn't explain the biology, or the solar system, or a snowflake. And that's going to be a real shock. Most chemistry professors believe that somebody in the physics department knows exactly how molecules form into geometric shapes, but they don't. That's expressed very clearly by particle physicist Frank Close. He says, molecules of water in a warm liquid are free to stick together in any direction they want. But once frozen, they form beautiful structures as exhibited by snowflakes, even though the underlying laws of physics showed no such prejudice to stick together in one direction over another. same problem as the solar system. The physics makes things attract, or at the atomic level repel, but not self-assembled into complex systems. So if chemistry doesn't reduce to physics, biology, virology, genetics, and solar systems don't reduce to the physics, something's wrong. My name's Pete Cook, and what I'm going to do is to put science back together for you. And I'm going to do it all in language that you understand. Anybody can understand it. There's something missing. I'm going to show you what that something is. About 30 years ago, I was working on the problem of turbulence inside jet engines. And I bought this book, Chaos and Nonlinear Dynamics, an introduction for scientists and engineers by Robert C. Hilborn. And this book woke me up. It shocked me, really. You see, turbulence is like the solar system and biology. It can't be explained by physics. I thought everything was explained by physics, but it's not. That's implied by beautiful BBC programmes on science, who just imply, they talk around things in fancy language without ever getting to the point. That's how you do politics, you confuse people with fancy language, but it doesn't work. There's something else in this book which shocked me as well. There's something positive. You see, I'm going to read something to you now. He says, why have scientists and engineers become intrigued by chaos? The answer to that question comes in two parts. The study of chaos has provided new conceptual and theoretical tools enabling us to categorize and understand complex behavior that had confounded all previous theories. So it's different from anything that's gone before. The reason that we haven't found it before is because you can only find it with computers. So people like Einstein had no access to it. It shows up in mechanical oscillators, physical systems, electrical circuits, lasers, nonlinear optical systems, chemical systems, nerve cells, biological systems. It shows up in all the university departments, even astronomy. Saturn's moon Hyperion wobbles about all over the place. Its behaviour is not consistent with Newtonian mechanics. So why can't we just say, if now that we've found chaos, which is as experimentally testable as physics, so it's science I can trust, I just put the chaos book and the physics book together and say, we've done it. Well, the problem is, when you look in the book on chaos, there's no laws of physics. They're not mentioned once, but it's physical material. My body must behave to the laws of physics. When I die, I fall over. My bones behave as levers, but those levers can adapt to a bat's wing, physics of the air, or a whale's flipper, physics of water. So I'm obeying two different sets of laws at the same time. The laws of chaos, just not physics, and physics. There must be a common link between physics, chaos, turbulence, physics, biology, physics. When I look in the book on chaos, it's written in two different kinds of languages. One, spoken language. And two, mathematics. And when I look in the physics book, I see the same thing. But about 400 years ago, science took a wrong turn. And it made a decision subconsciously that physics was the base set of laws in the universe that would explain everything else. That was an assumption. That hasn't happened. Previously, people trusted mathematics. They thought that was the absolute truth. Maybe we should go back to that. Einstein threw out gravity as a force, and he was right to do so. How can space move planets and stars? There's no physicality. How can atoms be held together and repel each other by empty space? It doesn't make any sense. If gravity is not a force, what is it? Well, we say the curvature of space-time, but how does space curve if it has no physical presence? It doesn't make any sense. An electron has no physical presence. So I need an explanation which is not physical for physical reality. All matter is made of just quarks and leptons, both of which have no physical presence. And space, the space in between them, which has no physical presence. Now I can explain them all in terms of mathematics. So shouldn't we consider that mathematics is the base set of laws, and what general relativity is matter and space being forced to obey mathematical rules. And we as human beings bring those mathematical rules into visual reality so we can see them. That makes a lot more sense. But it means changing your mind about something. It means saying that you're wrong. It's only people in the West that believe that physics is the base set of laws. Eastern philosophy is based on the fact that mathematics is the base set of laws. So they don't have to change their mind. But if you're in the West, you're embedded in a system. Everybody celebrates Christmas, so it must be true. But people in the East don't have Christmas. It doesn't exist. Christmas is just what you grow up with, and you believe what you grow up with. And Western science has grown up with the notion, which is false. The missing part of physics is chaos. This explains unpredictable behavior of matter. Physics explains, classical physics, the predictable behavior of matter. And quantum physics explains the predictable behavior of matter, Schrödinger's equation, and probabilistic behavior of matter, which you would need to explain genetics, which is probabilistic. So if we have mathematics which describes predictable behavior, unpredictable behavior, and probabilistic behavior, you have a description of nature which you can put back together by saying that the solar system, which has predictable parts, night follows day, and wobbly moons like Hyperion, and I've got a description which is then self-consistent with what we observe. Now, it's going to be a real surprise to you that chaotic systems actually bring themselves into a state of order if they've got the right kind of feedback loops. Now that's what you need to explain biology. Feedback loops, DNA, the conservation of information which gets put back into the system. Now a system like a chaotic pendulum doesn't conserve information, it's all lost, so it's just chaotic. But if you have genetics which conserve information and feed it back into the system, then that's different. Complexity can build up and keep building up, so that what you get is what Darwin observed. Every layer of fossils is more complex than the last. But what Darwin was missing was any understanding of how systems can self-organize. That was missing. And that's only just beginning to be understood. It's called complexity theory. And the more that we understand it, the more we realize that physics by itself cannot explain nature. It's a hopeless cause. We in the West have to re-examine our understanding of science. Mathematics is self-consistent, but there's something called Gödel's incompleteness theorem, which shows that there are some things in mathematics which can't be proved. But like biology, that's okay. You can't look at the periodic table and prove what it's going to make. There is some mathematics which govern cellular automata, which self-organizes into very complex systems, and it doesn't do so from predetermined laws, like physics. It does so by the interplay of the components within the system and nothing else, like a flock of birds, murmurations, or a shoal of fish. They're causing behavior in each other. It's nothing to do with physics. And if I am prepared to accept mathematics as causality, I get a consistent explanation for science. That's going to be very, very difficult for many scientists to do. But for young people who haven't made up their mind, they're not embedded in a system which is dominated by that thinking, it's dead easy. When I give lectures at universities or colleges to young people and say we really need to reconsider our viewpoint of science, no problem, because they don't have to change their mind. Now, this is a wake-up for all of us. We need new systems, safe sociological systems. Those new systems now have a model based on nature, and all systems in nature harmonize because it conserves energy. Solar systems all harmonized, rainforests, everything harmonized, and that's explained by mathematics. So we really do need to change our minds before we get access to a safer future. See you next time.